Reggie B coming at you with another video on the Reggie, the Growth Advocate YouTube channel. And in this video, the topic of discussion is the consumption of food and beverage as I continue to share with you some potentially useful tips that can help you along in your health and wellness journey. Now, before I go into this video, I definitely want to direct you to the show notes where I have put in a disclaimer. Check it out at your leisure. Basically, it's going to explain to you the basis of me sharing this information with you. For I'm not guaranteeing anything. Basically, what I'm doing as we go forward in this video, I've had the honor, the pleasure of speaking with others who have shared what has helped them along on their health and wellness journey. So my purpose with me sharing this information with you, basically, it can potentially help you as you go along on your health and wellness journey as well. So let's get right into it. As I mentioned before, the topic of discussion is consumption of food and beverages. So basically, I want to share with you some tips on what could potentially help you in your health and wellness as it pertains to food and beverages. Let's get right into it. So the first tip that I want to share with you is consuming fruits and vegetables. Now, you may be asking yourself, or I'll pose the question to you, how much or how often should we consume fruits and vegetables? And it's not a trick question. And my answer to that is, my suggestion to you is as much as your heart desires. I want to encourage you to consume as much fruits and vegetables as you can, as far as your intention in consuming fruits and vegetables. I would encourage you to consume fruits and vegetables with your meals, whatever you eat. If it contains protein, which I would recommend that whatever meal that you eat, it includes a protein, lean protein specifically, whether it's chicken, whether it's fish, whether it is turkey, whatever that protein is. Make sure that you have a fruit and or vegetable that you are consuming with that lean protein. And I want to add this as well. I mean, if you're into carbohydrates, okay, that's you. Carbohydrates, I feel like, can be optional. It's not necessary. It's not needed when it comes to our meals. But I would definitely encourage you to consume a fruit and or a vegetable with your meal. As many of us know, there are so many benefits to consuming fruits and vegetables. So I definitely want to encourage you to do that. Whether it's a meal that contains a protein, and you may be a vegan. Maybe all you consume is fruit and vegetables, and that's great. That's excellent. So feel free to leave a comment below if you are a vegan. Let me know what you consume, what are the benefits of being a vegan, and also how it has helped you along in your health and wellness journey as well. So that's tip number one. That's the first suggestion that I would encourage you to do is consume as much fruit and vegetables as your heart desire. So suggestion number two that I would like to share with you is portion control. Portion control is key when it comes to our health and wellness. It is key when it comes to consuming fruits and drinks and beverages, right? So one thing that I love to do, especially around the holidays, whether it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, and with the 4th of July being today, Independence Day with it being today, we have a tendency to overeat. We have a tendency to overindulge when it comes to these holidays and special occasions as well. Because if you think about it, some of us feel like this is our time to eat. This is our time to get our grub on, right? Because you got Christmas, you got Thanksgiving, you got the 4th of July. With the 4th of July, we grilling, we barbecuing, we cooking whatever. Along with Thanksgiving, along with Christmas, we got the good food that we gonna eat, that we look forward to eat, spending time with our family, breaking bread with our family. You got your turkey, you got your ham, you got your dressing, you got the mac and cheese, you got all kind of desserts. Just I mean, and many, many more, just enough to make you suck on your fingers, right? So as we look forward to that and we look forward to getting our grub on, what I always like to put out there, if you follow me, if you are rocking with me on social media, you know for several years, when these holidays come up, I like to put out two words. And those two words are portion control. Be mindful of your portion control as you go into the holiday, as you're eating your Christmas dinner, as you're eating your Thanksgiving dinner. You don't have to, pile your plate with all this food. Just take a little at a time, eat a little bit at a time. Don't overindulge, don't overeat into the point where you get caught up in that itis. Some of us know what that itis is. You eat these big old portions, right? Your plate is piled up, your bowl is piled up. You got multiple slices of pies and cakes and all this stuff. And then after you overindulge and you eat all this stuff, you just tired. You want to lay out in the bed. You want to sit on the couch and watch the game and fall asleep during the game because you ate so much. So again, what I like to put out there is the importance of portion control. Whether you are in the midst of the holidays or if it's a special occasion or just in general, practice portion control. If you have a lot of food in front of you, it's great that you want to enjoy it. But if you're going to put yourself in a position where you're eating, where you have a bunch of food as options that you're going to eat samples, eat small sample size, a little scoop here and there of a little bit in everything. And you ain't got to eat everything all at once. If you feel like that the food is going to go away, just fix you multiple plates, fix you a little bit on this plate and this plate and save those plates for later. And you can just focus on one plate. But it's all about portion control. I definitely want to encourage you to be mindful of portion control when you put yourself in a position where you have all this food in front of you. And just a bonus tip within the portion control tip is that once you eat, if you eat an ample amount of food, get up and move around. Instead of you sitting down on that couch, instead of you laying on that bed after you eat, get up and move around. Get up and walk around a little bit. If it's just walking around, if you want to walk down the street of your neighborhood, if you want to go for a jog, if you plan it out where after you eat, maybe you will engage in some type of activity with your friends, with your families, and all that good stuff. But move around. That's a bonus tip for you. Move around when you eat a good amount of food. So that's tip number 2. It's portion control. 2 very important words when it comes to our health and wellness. And it's very important when it comes to our consumption of food and beverages. Tip number 3. And I want to share this with you because I feel like this is a very important tip when it comes to our health and wellness. And I've heard, and these are 2 important words as well, besides portion control, and that's calorie intake. Something I feel like that's really, really simple is calorie intake when it comes to our health and wellness, when it comes to being better in that area of our lives. And I feel like some of us forsake that. I really feel like that. And I want to share this particular thing with you as far as calorie intake because on Clubhouse, I heard this gentleman talk about his health and wellness journey. And what helped him the most was his calorie intake. Now, many of us know that, and we've seen this before, where the daily allowance of calories that they suggest is no more than 2,000 calories. I think many of us have seen that. But once again, I feel like many of us forsake that. So I just want to bring that to the forefront. I want to put that out as a reminder to you is to be intentional in consuming no more than 2,000 calories a day. Be mindful of the calories that you consume. Now, as we go through life, we learn, right? And we have a pretty good idea as far as the foods that we eat and the drinks that we consume. We have a pretty good idea of how many calories, at least at least the approximate amount of calories that these food and these drinks contain. So we want to be mindful of that as well. We want to be mindful of that. Be familiar with what you eating and what you drinking. Another thing is, it just so happens if you eat out, and if you notice with a lot of these restaurants, a lot of these businesses, food businesses, a lot of these people put the amount of calories that that particular meal have, that that dish have on the menu. So pay attention to that, right? Pay attention to that. That's another guide that we can utilize when it comes to calorie intake. But once again, don't consume, try not to consume no more than 2,000 calories on a daily basis. And also with that, as you take in these calories, be intentional. And here's another bonus tip: be intentional in engaging in activity, because engaging in activity it can potentially help us burn calories as well. As we consume calories, again, we want to be mindful of how many calories that we're consuming. You also want to engage in activity. You also want to move around. Do your favorite activity, whether it's a sport or whatever that breaks a sweat, if it's working out or whatever the case may be. So be mindful of that as well. Calorie intake and also burning calories. So that was the third tip. That was the third suggestion that I want you to be mindful of when it comes to consumption of food and beverages, and that is calorie intake. So the fourth suggestion, the fourth tip that I want to share with you is to minimize your square meals. And I feel like this is important. I felt the need to bring this up because if you're like me, when we were young lads, when we were some youngsters, we were groomed, we were taught to eat 3 square meals a day, right? We was taught that it was very important to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, it is still important. It really is. You want to make sure that you're getting your proper nutrients, but along with that, as I mentioned before, you want to be mindful of the calories that you're consuming, the calories that you are intaking as well when it comes to these 3 square meals a day. And that's not including the snacks. So remember when we was coming up, we was taught to eat 3 square meals a day and maybe 1 or 2 snacks in between that, right? Many of us was taught that. And that may still apply, but I feel like in this day and age, it's not really necessary. I really feel like that, so that's why I say, and that's why I encourage you to minimize your square meals. Now, you can probably just eat a breakfast and or a lunch and or a dinner. But I received this tip, and I want to give a shout out to my brother, to my best friend that I've been knowing for 40 plus years, my boy Tavio. He actually reminded me of something. He actually planted a seed, and he said something that really resonated with me. He shared with me that he eats 1 meal a day. That's all he eats, is just 1 meal a day. And I heard this before, right? I've heard of other people that do this. And it really didn't resonate with me until my brother mentioned it to me. And I said, you know what? That's something I want to try. And I've done it before. I've gone through several days where I only consume 1 meal a day and maybe a snack. But I've done a whole day with just consuming 1 meal. And what I realize is that I don't have to eat 3 square meals a day if I manage everything right. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like 1 meal a day can be something that we can do. Maybe you don't do it every single day, but if you can do it every single day, that's great. But if you're consistent with it, just eating one time or two, you know what I'm saying? You can include a snack. So consider that as well. 1 meal a day, right? And another tip that I pick up, ever since my brother shared that with me, I saw another video on Instagram where it was stated that eating 1 meal a day can potentially reduce the risk of these illnesses. Because if you think about it, A lot of these illnesses that many of us get, whether it's diabetes, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's high cholesterol, etc., all of those illnesses and diseases, they stem from food. So I felt like when this was mentioned in this Instagram video, I said, you know what, that's a really good point. With all these illnesses and diseases, they're stemming from food. And if you cut your square meals a day from, 3, 4 to 1, that can potentially reduce the risk of us getting these illnesses and diseases. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But that's my fourth tip. My fourth suggestion to you is to minimize your square meals. Now, there's one more tip. There's one more suggestion that I would like to share with you in regards to the consumption of food and beverages. And that fifth and final tip is to drink plenty of water. Plain and simple, drink water. And the thing about water, water is great because normally when you're drinking water, you're not intaking any calories. Most of this water, if not all of it, is 0 calories. That's great. Water can be very beneficial to our health. It has many health benefits. I would encourage you to drink water in the morning around the first thing that you do when you get up in the morning. I've heard there's some benefits in doing that. I've heard somewhere, I read somewhere that it improves our brain function, that it gets our organs going. This is what I read. This is what I heard. This was what I found in some research. It helps with our brain functions, as I mentioned before. Also, just drinking water throughout the day. I came across this tip as well, drinking water throughout the day for the sake of just staying hydrated, for our hydration and for our digestion. That's something that I came along. That's some information that I came along as well. But I feel like that you can't go wrong with drinking water. I really feel like that. Regardless of what type of water it is. I've heard that alkaline water is good for you. Maybe some of you consume alkaline water. I've heard that's good. But good old drinking water, good old spring water, I heard recently. I was reminded recently, if anything, that spring water is great for us. So just consuming water. And one of my jams, one of the things that I'm starting to do is that I'm consuming infused water. That's something that I love doing. I love to put, certain fruits in my water. They have, some of these have it where they have these special pitchers where you can put water in it, and then they have like a placeholder in the middle where you can put like fruits in there. You put different fruits in your water, whether it's watermelon, pineapple, lemon, lime, or whatever. Another suggestion is when I go out to eat, I love to get lemon water. It seems like the only thing when I go out to eat, when I go out to a restaurant, the only thing that I really get is water with lemon in it. That's the only thing I get. And I also drink it at home as well. From time to time, I'll buy a bag of lemons or I'll buy a bag of limes and I'll cut it up and I'll put it in my water and I drink it. But as I mentioned before, you can't go wrong with water. I wholeheartedly believe that. I stand on that. So water, drink plenty of water. And also, I want to ask you this. How much water do you think that one should drink? How much water you think we should consume? And I actually posed this question on my Instagram story some time ago. What do you think? Should one consume 8 glasses of water a day? I've heard that that's beneficial. That's something that was groomed in us as well. 8 glasses of water a day is ideal for daily consumption. I also heard recently, as I went through a health and wellness program a few years back, that it is ideal to drink, as far as the ounces of water, you drink that in half your body weight. So let's say you weigh 200 pounds, it's ideal for you to drink 100 ounces of water. I picked that up along the way as well. But what you think? Do you think 8 glasses of water a day is good? Half your body weight in ounces or other? Is there some other amount of of water that you feel like we should consume that you came across. Feel free to share that in the comments below. But other than that, peace and blessings to you as you continue your journey. So let me know what you think about this video. I definitely wanted to put this out there. I wanted to share with you some suggestions, share with you some tips in regards to consuming food and beverages. I hope the information that I shared with you brought you some value. I hope that it had provoked some thought. I hope that it has served as a reminder, as like it has me, because a lot of times when I speak with people and they share information with me, sometimes it's a revelation, sometimes it's something new that I may want to consider doing when it comes to my health and wellness journey. Sometimes it's a reminder. You may be like, you know what, I did hear that before. You know what, I need to get back on it. I need to try that again, or I need to try that since I heard it before. But let me know what you think about the information that I shared with you. Feel free to leave a comment below. I would love to receive your feedback. Once again, I am Reggie B, aka the Growth Advocate, and I appreciate you tuning into this video. And until the next time, keep growing and keep going.